what grade did you end up getting on your project?
Oh, God.
We got a B+.
Whoa, what? Wait, is that not out there?
No.
Hello, Fine family, and welcome to another episode of the FBE Podcast, and we've got quite the guests today. First of all, me and Rafi are reunited. We haven't been on the podcast for, I think, 3 weeks now together, so that's always fun. I don't know the last time...
We haven't sat next to each other ever.
I don't know if you and me have ever high-fived in the last, 5 years.
Whoa,
That's really sad,
I just witnessed
right?
a really wonderful moment.
How often do you guys
That's really
high-five?
touching.
Every day.
So joining us are the team, the genius, the heart behind the viral In a Heartbeat short film, the heart of Heartbeat,
The heart of
Beth and Esteban, who are here with us.
Hi, thanks
So
for having us.
if you're just listening, they are really here. You can see them if you're on the video side of things. And I love that this has all happened because it all happened pretty quickly in terms of getting to know you guys a little bit, but it's been pretty fun. So thanks for doing the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited to talk some more.
That's right. We love talking here. So we're like,
You have the short that's no talking, but you guys like to talk.
Actually,
Amazing. How did you keep yourselves from talking?
yeah, right.
In the short, did you
the
want to
short.
say something at some point in there like, hi? And you just didn't let yourself.
We just were like, we can't do it.
There was never there was one point in which we were gonna have the characters talk, but
Yeah, I mean, it was never like making them talk wasn't really like an issue, I guess, and it was something that we would have done if we needed
also like
to.
something that it was like conscious completely.
Yeah,
it was just like
kinda-
if it needed dialogue, it would have
Yeah,
had.
It was
we
a
would've
smart
put it-
decision
yeah.
to not have it. Made
Yeah.
it very universal. Anybody can watch it and know what's going on.
That's something that I always have become fascinated with silent cinema over my career, of realizing that like the most famous people maybe in the history of the world were the early silent film stars, because there was no visual media before then, but since it was silent, it could literally be global like YouTube is now, but everyone could understand it. So no matter where they went, everyone knew who they were.
And you saw like footage of...
There's footage of Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks and I think Paris,
right.
where like 100,000 people showed up when they showed up in their European tour because they were just massive fans. Crazy. So silent,
That's you guys.
silent works. So in terms of how this all came together, because I've seen some people asking like, how did you get them to come on and all of these things? So it wasn't something that I was immediately thinking, oh, that'd be a good idea. It's something that we do from time to time when we're able to. I love it when people come to react back to the reaction. But what actually happened, and I think I told you this, was I saw because as soon as we put up the Elders React to In a Heartbeat, I started making sure we were following you guys, and then I saw you getting very excited about Connor Franta having a reaction video back. I'm like, oh, he knows YouTube? So then I immediately wrote like, hey, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Less than 5 minutes later, you were like, here we go. Here's the email. Let's go. I was like, do you want to react back? You're like, yes. And then here we are. So I love that all just happened kind of through Twitter organically and quickly. And for those of you who have not heard the story, at the company meeting when we announced it, the excitement from the company was off the charts, more so than most celebrities here, because of how much everyone here loves what you guys made. So
Well, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
And then we did the reactception. How was that experience for you, just generally? Not like the content itself, but like coming in and doing it here.
Well, that was really cool. I mean, like, because I've seen like kids react to, and like all that kind of stuff. So like my main question was like, are there different rooms for each reaction? And I learned there isn't. So that was fun.
We're very economical with our space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see what else. So that reactception then did really well. I think that itself has over 1 million views now of you guys reacting back to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's right. You guys need to get some of the star power there. You guys
Get your
you guys
faces
get
on
some views
camera.
for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that's weird because with animation and stuff, you don't really know the faces behind like the animation. So even when we thought that the film was going to do well, we didn't know that we were going to get some attention as well,
Right, yeah.
like ourselves.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people like at home were always going to be like when I was getting into like, you know, starting school and like getting out there, like they were always like, oh, you're going to be a famous animator. And I was like, that doesn't happen. Name one animator that you know. And it's like, well, now we kind of like our faces are a thing. So yeah.
Have you actually noticed that? Because it's interesting for us as well, where like we're mostly behind the camera. So you guys were even mentioning that there was a lot of fan art of different things. A lot of people like to talk about how they see yourselves in the characters and such. But have you seen people making caricatures of you guys and not just the characters, or not yet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There have been,
Yeah, there's a few, and like those are super cute, and like especially it was my birthday a little while ago, and Esteban had like made a post about it being my birthday, and people drew pictures of me for my birthday, and that was like so nice. Like, yeah, like people I didn't even know were just like, it's you, and I'm like, it is. Thank you.
You're right.
And so since we saw you guys, the Kids React in a Heartbeat came out just yesterday from when we're recording this, actually. Did you get a chance to see that yet?
Yes.
we
It was
both
so
did.
cute. I cried like I did watching it. It was so sweet.
There was a
I bet
moment
you're
when
gonna
I
have a
was...
lot of people being like, why do you have them react to it right now?
You're not just going to do that over and over and over again.
Yeah, we'll just keep
It is what
reacting.
it is. Maybe one day. But yeah, during watching the initial cut, I even pulled Rafi into my office at one point because I started to cry watching a piece of it because I wasn't in the room when they filmed it, being like, oh, you've got to just watch this one little part because it's really getting to me right now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I think that we have those layers for us. That's like one, just that the idea of the world of like you watch this and it's like, okay, here like kids can see the beauty in this and not get, you know, the wrong messaging, etc. But also like for the company personally, it's kind of like, oh, we're so proud of our kids. Like, so because you don't know, you're literally, they don't know that they're going to be watching this stuff. So the types of knowledge that they bestow and the like,
I can understand why there's a lot of
crazy.
comments that when these episodes come out that say this has to be scripted because it seems so incredible. But you just are not spending time talking to kids in a real way, and then you wouldn't feel that way. But I get it because they are presented with it completely out of thin air, and look what the things that they say with no warning. And it's like, here's a question, and that was that kid's answer. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
They were like really articulate as well.
They use like big words. I was like, you are smart. Like there was, I forget her name, but the one girl who was like talking about us, like the film as a film and like saying, oh, I like that they're doing this without dialogue. And I'm like, you're 6 or 9 or something.
Yeah, Sydney. That'd be Sydney.
Yeah, she was so
she
smart.
also was like, this should be a film. It's just like,
She's the one that said like, right, and there was that moment when she goes, and they're friends or more.
Yeah.
And then she goes, and that's why they want there to be a movie.
she knew a lot about it.
Yeah. Oh,
You
that's
could tell,
great.
yeah.
Any other elements, or putting you on the spot, but any other parts that kind of stand out to you specifically in the episode now that we have you here?
One part that made me laugh was when she was like, they're more than just best dudes or whatever. I was like, yeah, best dudes. That was really funny.
I liked I mean, I don't know if we're gonna talk about this at some point, but Lucas, how he was, he had been, what was it, like 3 years ago or something?
4 years ago now.
years
The first,
ago?
the Kids React to Gay Marriage episode from when he was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah. And I remember specifically him because he had said just that it was it was weird to him that there would be a relationship between like same gender. And the way that he reacts to this is just, he's come like so far and
Right.
And so eloquently too. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see that, because even in that episode, because I did interview the kids in both Kids React to Gay Marriage and Kids React to the gay marriage ruling that we did once it became legal. And you hear me. We left it in the edit in that first episode where I'm asking Lucas as he's saying these things, but why?
The same thing happens in this
and this
episode
one that
for
Ethan, our
yours.
producer,
Keep asking. Don't just leave it as anything.
Yeah.
Like, show that we're trying to just have a normal conversation.
Well,
Find
that's
out
the thing,
why
'cause
they're
it's not-
thinking the way they're thinking.
It's not like challenge the opinion. Opinion's
Correct.
an opinion. It's more of like, we'll try to get to the root of why, because it's also very interesting to even hear, especially from a kid's perspective, of why do you feel that way? Why is this weird to you? And usually when, at least in our experience, being in Los Angeles with
It's
the people
only so
who live
much
here,
that you're going to encounter.
you'll find that they typically tend to not know why they have that feeling. And if you talk about the way it is, they usually come around to a degree of like, well, I guess, but I'm still not quite sure, which happened again in this episode.
And then that's where you stop.
Yeah.
You don't keep trying to push on that.
But it was very interesting to see, because in the gay marriage ruling too, we asked him directly, like, oh, you didn't used to feel this way. And I think it's very interesting both who he's becoming and obviously whatever's going on in terms of his parenting and in terms of his family and friends that are around him over the years, going off of something like that where he became, that video was so huge.
Oh yeah.
And in a way being known as, oh, he was the one kid that, right or wrong, that people felt that way about it. What an interesting thing to be able to witness on video over the years. It's like time capsule in a very incredible way.
Yeah, it's great character development you got going.
It's like it was written. Yes, we cast Lucas early on. We knew that he would go through this arc. Yes, we'll see where he goes in another year. But I think that those are the things that are interesting as the years go on now, is that, I mean, adults are going to probably stay the way they are. They might go through something really specific in their life, and then if we're filming them for 20 years, we'll see what happens. But definitely in child development, it's definitely interesting to watch them go from kids to teens and see literally how they are starting to think about things differently, and who knows what they're going to like and not like. We did, Elle, who we had on the podcast, like, we never let it down because we get to like really watch this journey of a big One Direction fan and get to watch her from being a little kid crying about them to like, when will she finally give up on that? Like, when will that not be important to her anymore? But she's holding on strong.
She still loves them. She still loves them. But yeah, and that's the thing on the podcast here. It's us as us. So like, it's different than when it's on the show that has this objectiveness to it. Like, we're not trying to change anybody's opinions on the shows that we're making. We just want to know what they are and understand why. But obviously, we're we're a very liberal couple of guys. That's the reality of it. But it's still interesting to me in what you guys have made and what we know some of the content that we've made over time has meant to the LGBTQ community. And like the emails that we would get back when that gay marriage episode came out was pretty overwhelming, and I'm sure parallels a little bit to some of the email that I'm sure you guys have gotten in the aftermath of this from closeted people, and like how it can help completely find a way for them to talk to people, which came up in the reacception, the idea that like they're able to use a heartbeat to help explain to someone who they are. And we got that a lot with the Kids React to Gay Marriage too, of like, if kids can get this, maybe my dad can, and like that type of thing. And it's kind of hard to process, even more so for you guys, where it's so much more personal in terms of your own personal journeys juxtaposed to it. Yeah.
It's just great in that aspect that it's that it can be used, and I think that's something that's like really great about YouTube. That there's just so much that people can really use and see and connect with other people. Because like people can see our animation, and then something that is like, for me growing up LGBTQ, it's, you think that you're alone, and then suddenly you see something like this, or you see other people embracing ideas, and you don't feel like you're alone anymore. And that was a big part of me just like coming out. So these videos help out a lot more than just knowing that there's support and that you're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mentioning also other YouTube stars that had videos like this being an influence to you guys as well. You want to shout out anybody? Who were some of those people that you did watch?
Connor
Franta.
Joey Graceffa. He did one with his boyfriend. Who else?
I mean, there were a few that I watched, but I don't remember their names anymore. Like, because I was just like looking specifically for coming out videos, and
it was
so
a
I just
trend.
it's just
like, I'm
watched
gonna
a
watch
bunch
as
of
many as
them.
possible.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember who they were.
Yeah, it's just, I guess for me, I could relate to Connor's in a way that it was like, I think he was kind of like the same age I was when he grew up, and whenever he said those things about himself coming out, I was able to relate to everything. And as he said those things, I was like, dang it.
I think
all of it is true.
Same.
But I think that it is really interesting because of how you say that that's really how a whole generation is starting to find their way to come out and be able to talk about it and relate to it and see that it's not different and it's not, you're not alone. And that we ask the kids stuff like that too, of just the idea of this not being in animation and this not being in stories. And you think about like Ellen on the sitcom originally, and like all these ideas, and you look back on even on interviews of her and what she went through to actually go through that and deal with that. that it's crazy that YouTube has helped in so many interesting different ways over the years of bringing us all together, but opening up stories, opening up new types of storytelling and formats and shows that you never would have existed. And that one of them is going to be like, even when I say it's a trend, like the format of like being able to come out and talk about that and share that with the world has become something that's then so important to an entire, like it will, I think that we will look back on like all of those videos that did happen for all these people feeling like they should come out and look at YouTube stars that were willing to do that as this moment of everybody feeling like, oh, I can do this too. It's not impossible.
And a celebratory moment where thankfully, that's usually also come with a lot of positivity. Now, from talking to some of them after the fact, there's a lot of things we don't actually know that happened on the other side from some of those videos from them. But at the same time, look at the outpouring that comes in, not just from the fans, but then it becomes all the other YouTubers and things like that, because we knew all those people for years. And so when those things would happen, it became like this huge excitement that you want in your own life. And I've had that with friends of mine who have come out over time, where for me, it's always like one of the happiest moments for me, for them, whenever that's ever happened, where I even see how mind wrecked they are, even telling me, where it's like, I finally know you. Like, thank God I know you, you know, like, so hopefully just more of that as much as possible.
Yeah. I think like when you see coming out videos and stuff like that, when you are able to relate to what other people say, you also, what happened to me is like, I want to be there. I want to have that peace of mind. And if you're able to see that other people are at that point in their life, then it just inspires you to also be able to accept yourself and want to get to wherever they are, you know.
Okay, so let's get into it. Earlier on our socials, we posted for questions for you guys. And so that's what we do, is we ask those questions.
The hard-hitting questions.
Wow, that got pretty intense there.
Hard-hitting.
I hope this doesn't become a thing. But this also, because we haven't really talked about it, because I got so immersed in everything. This is the FBE Podcast, where we talk about all things FBE. We didn't do that. Okay. If you've never listened before, this is long, and you've been listening for quite a while at this point, but we'll do like hour-long podcasts, basically talking about entertainment industry, FBE as a company, things that are happening around the company, inside YouTube stuff. We affectionately call everyone who listens to it the 5%, because it's about 5% of our engaged audience that care enough about this to listen to, because we love them all. We love the entire audience because they love the shows.
You guys care a lot more, and so we love you that much more for loving us that much more.
And I always will say that we love everybody. But okay.
They're our favorite children. You know.
Like we are our favorite children. Yes, we're
so
doing it.
Thank you for being your 5%. Also, I see a lot of the comments being like, stop talking about the 5%. You're mentioning it too much. And here's the reality, guys. And especially because you're the 5%, you need to hear this. The reason we have to do this is because a lot of the non-5%, as much as they love the shows, really love to insult the fact of how little the viewership is in the podcast compared to the other shows. So we do it to call out the fact that, yes, we know. It's not like we expect there to be millions of views. We're fine with there being the views that there are. It's not about that. It's about who wants to listen. So that's why we make sure people know. So if you're new, you don't think that we don't know. Anyway. So here's some questions from Twitter. Alexia wants to know, what grade did you end up getting on your project?
Oh, God.
You really want to talk about this? Yeah.
All right. We got a B+.
Whoa, what? Wait, is that not out there?
No.
So wait, have you been able to circle back about what's happened to talk about this grade?
What?
Have you been able to circle back and
say,
you got
hey,
grade?
by the
Did
way,
you
I
see
think-
what this did?
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like
It was, I mean, first semester we got
No, we got a B+ for
Oh,
semester
really?
2. Yeah. We got a B+ all across the board.
Now, the critique that came through, did you see why it resulted in a B+?
I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Like, it doesn't really matter.
I'm just like, whatever. Now, because I went to film school and stuff, so now I'm like, wait, so like, what elements did they go? You know what? The animation in this regard, in that regard, we talked about this. You should have done that.
Yeah,
you
I don't
didn't
know.
do this.
We didn't get a rubric, so I don't know what they were grading us on. But
I mean, I remember like being with us and it's like, oh, we're gonna go check our grade, and it was like,
and then I was like, Esteban. So I don't know.
I feel like there should be
Yeah,
like
we passed.
a like record where you have like the most views on a B+ project ever. Like see if anybody can beat that soon enough.
Yeah. Just it's like
aim for B+.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
That doesn't. Yeah. A's don't matter.
And a lot of people were wanting to know how you guys guys met and decided to work together as a duo, which is very curious to us. We're brothers who were forced into the duo. So I was curious about those that weren't forced into
You
the
had
duo.
no say.
Yeah,
He
no
forced
choice.
me.
I forced him.
The older brother being like, just do it. And for a while, it took me a while to be like, I like this. It
This
took
is
me
like
over.
young teenage Rafi forced to work on my films.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we met freshman year in the cafeteria. It was kind of like, hey.
We like sat next to each other, didn't say anything.
No, you actually didn't talk
I
at
didn't
all.
talk to you
She
at
was
all.
really, really quiet.
Yeah,
And I kind of, she was more kind of like, I'm too cool for everyone.
which is not true.
Well, that's the vibe you gave off.
Well,
to me.
at least it was cool and not like weird.
So she seemed cool.
I seemed
I mean,
cool.
we would be out in the common room, and her room would like be like right next to it, and so she would just kind of like come in and come out. And if people said like, "Hey, Beth," you'd be like,
You're like, sup,
Just
dude.
like,
"What's
sup?"
up?" And then just go in.
I'm glad that you like read that as cool and not like creepy hermit girl.
There goes the creepy hermit.
I mean, but after that, we became a part of a close
yeah, like
group
a
of friends.
Yeah.
And I got to know her a lot more. You were just kind of like really reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
realize, no, she's not cool. She's she's just creepy hermit
No.
girl.
She would laugh at all of my jokes. I remember that because I have a really dumb sense of humor.
Yeah.
And
You're like, yeah, to this day. I still don't.
Still, yeah, and it's still a dumb sense of humor, and it still
Still is.
gets me.
And in terms of what brought you together
Yeah,
to
how
like,
did you
be
end up
like a
working together?
unit?
oh, okay.
I mean, I guess we just like kind of were like, hey, do you want to like try coming up with ideas together and like see how it works? And like, I remember like specifically like we met with another friend of ours, like just in like a coffee shop, and we were just like throwing ideas around, and like doing that was like really fun. And I mean, it just kind of like, it panned out really well. We're like,
Creatively, you clicked. Like
Yeah.
you liked each other as ideas.
yeah, like and I think like,
Yeah, it just flowed really well. Like coming up with ideas, developing the story.
Jokes.
Yeah.
Jokes
I
are
mean,
really
yeah.
interesting.
Okay, so
most of the funny things in the film are because we were like, that's stupid. Actually,
but really though, it would
Yeah.
just be because we would be like, imagine if like they hold hands
Yeah.
after like
After,
Sherman
like,
slaps, and then
we
we're
were
like,
like, wait a minute,
what?
let's draw that. And then, yeah, and then like the hair thing, like with the
Yeah.
heart stroking the hair, that was a total just like 5 a.m. Like, and then we did it. And so yeah,
I love animation, like in the sense that even the things that you're talking about, like these are the things that are only possible really in the animation,
Yeah.
which makes it so much fun. That sometimes our brains, because we don't do it as much, we've done some animation, but it's not like the core of our filmmaking. So there's times even when I've been out pitching animation that people we're with have to be like, you have to talk about like why
is it animated?
Why are we animated and not live action right now? Because my brain doesn't always work that way. But you guys right away are like, that's just the way
Those
that
are the
you're wired.
moments you think about
Oh,
it, the
yeah.
jokes you can tell. Yeah.
yeah.
So this ties in well to mtester99 on Snapchat, wanting to know if there is a favorite moment or scene in a Heartbeat that you actually consider to be like your favorite part.
do you have one in mind?
I mean, I think the favorite shot that I animated, I guess, is the one where it's like right after the heart gets put back together and he like pops up, and then like Jonathan like scoots up next
Yeah.
to Sherwin. Like I like that shot a lot.
I like it too. I think it's like the right emotion because remember like we were tweaking a lot of the animation so we would hit the right emotion. It's not just like happy, it's not sad. It's
It's
like
a very like in between, like he feels guilty for breaking the heart, but he also is like happy that it's back, and
it's like what is he saying to the heart? It's he's kind of like apologizing in a way to it. He feels apologetic, he feels sorry, he feels happy though that it's like back together.
Yeah, so going through all of that, like it took a while to get to the right like emotion for it.
Yeah.
Man.
I like the hair shot.
I remember when because like one of the things like for the film, like we didn't know how to do hair, like how to make it in CG. Like we had no idea how that was done. And so that was a really long process of like, I think it took like a month to figure it out. Like, and
Did you say it took a year and a half to finish this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
start to
So
finish.
from start to finish, it was a year and a half. So yeah, like
A
we
month
had
of
no
that is
idea.
learning about hair.
Yeah, which was
It
so
was,
weird.
it
Like,
was.
yeah, it was like, and
Like,
I
you
also was
spent
like,
a week on Sherwin's hair.
Yeah, like on just-
and probably more
Yeah,
because considering like modeling
Right.
it first to get the shape and
Right.
then to get
and
the
then to get
strands.
the actual
it was
hair. Oh my
probably
god, it was.
a month.
Yeah, I think
To cut
like
his hair?
yeah, their hair was ridiculous. But anyway, so because it took so long to get it to work, like when I saw the very first render of Jonathan's hair in that shot, I was like, oh
It
my
worked.
God, like we did it.
Yeah.
Like this is the most gorgeous.
I already can tell that you were about to say, like, I could just sit back and just
Yes.
listen to you guys talk
I
about
know.
the art of
Like
what
frame
you
by
do.
frame.
Because we love this stuff so much.
I mean,
We
yeah,
can talk about all this.
yeah, like really,
But
yeah.
especially
But-
just because there is such a, I think there's an art and in the arcs that we're not even seeing inside of where you're deciding and how you're editing moment to moment, frame by frame, emotion to emotion, especially because it is all about having to see their expressions. And so you had to think about every possible shade of, I was going to say gray, but all 50
Can't
shades
say that
of
anymore. Can't say that
Can't say
anymore.
it. It's ruined.
Not right for this. Yeah, but shade of emotion. Yeah, that's amazing.
No, yeah. Actually, we in the animation process before we started animating, we went through the whole film and just wrote down every single thought that each character has.
Yeah.
Like at every moment.
Yeah. So there's not like a script, but there is like a, like an internal dialogue for like every shot.
There's a lot of OMGs.
OMG. There's a lot of that.
I love talking about the heart coming back, like, me and Rafi are known in photos for like our whole life, always going, and so the heart to me encompasses,
Yeah,
whenever the heart's very happy.
When the heart's back together and everything,
It's
just
like, oh! So I related to the heart. I related to the humans.
yeah. He's just this happy-go-lucky little.
yes.
Actually, the heart is a lot of it is inspired by Beth. Like, for example, when we were the very first shot that Beth animated in there was the one in which the heart pops out of the chest and then it does that little like bouncy thingy. And I was like, Beth, you should do the thing.
Well, you asked me like, pretend you're really excited, and I just went like, and you were like, do that. I was like,
Because that's the thing that she does, like when she gets excited, she just kind of
Just
starts
kinda
like bouncing.
So the heart is, yeah.
Laura on Instagram wants to know, did you refer to the characters, including the heart, with names while making it, even if they were not going to be mentioned?
Yes. So the red-haired boy is Sherwin. The dark-haired boy is Jonathan, and we called the heart Shirley. Just 'cause I don't know why, but we did.
We thought it would be funny.
Yeah, it was cute.
It was cute.
And I assume that had to be done because you wouldn't know what you were talking about if you're
Yeah.
trying to talk to each other.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we
even
were
in
like
the script that you're
heart.
talking about and stuff, it was in
Yeah, I
there.
mean, well,
Yeah.
I think we
we
went
had
back and
them-
forth. We were like
yeah.
the heart or
Yeah.
Shirley or.
But we had those since like the very beginning.
Yeah, like way before we even started like
Mhm.
really working.
I
yeah.
think it was the first week. Or
Yeah, we were just
something.
like, what should we name them? This, and then, and then we just kind of moved on. So, yeah.
All right, we have Ryu Dragon 14 on Instagram stories. Where did the apple go?
Okay, so that's one of those things that it's like, oh, it's an animated film. Like no one.
I remember there was.
Like,
it's an
like we
animated film.
very
You didn't know it was going to
specifically-
get this many millions of views to be scrutinized by YouTube comments when you were making it.
It's funny because I remember in one of our full faculty grids, there was one teacher that said, "Where'd the apple go?" And then Beth just went, "Animation."
And then we were like, oh yeah,
And then everyone.
it
yeah.
never came up again. And then
And
people
I
just
think
kept.
that's what's like it just is funny to me that's what
Yeah.
people are really concerned
Yeah,
about.
and they're really like respect. I think also like the fact that people just say that like that's the only like trait that Jonathan has is that he likes apples. Like, I think that's
It makes
really
it
funny.
relatable.
Yeah,
I like apples
because we
too.
would joke about that all the time. It's like Jonathan,
Yeah.
I like apples. Like that's it.
Really, the reason why there was no talking was because that was all he knows how to
Because that's all
say.
That's all we were able to
Yeah.
communicate with Jonathan.
You just brought up something that I didn't understand. Could you walk through, like, what's the process? Like, you mentioned there's some moment where people are reviewing your work. Could you walk people through, like, what school is like for animation in that way?
I mean, it's different for every school,
Yeah.
but our school specifically, like when you're doing your thesis film, you will like at least once a month, I think, the whole like computer animation faculty will come together and just sort of watch whatever it is you have. So when we started the film, we pitched the idea to like the whole faculty, and we made like a little like slideshow of like just moments from the story, and they give notes, they give thoughts, they tell us like if things are working or if they're not, and for the most part, we're able to kind of like take it like with a grain of salt, just kind of be like, like why did they say this? Like not necessarily like always do the note that they gave, but like understand why.
What is needed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout the whole process of the pipeline from like character design to storyboards and stuff like that. You're periodically meeting with the faculty. But yeah, it's not like that in every school.
Yeah.
And is the faculty like people that have done it, have worked on major animated things and things like that? Because I remember reading stories about in the old days of Disney, where like some of the more very famous animators would do similar things in Cal Arts and places like that. Is it similar to that?
Yeah, I mean, most of our instructors have worked in the industry before, or they're currently like they freelance every once in a while for the industry. So
one of them, they've worked like in DreamWorks, Pixar, Blue Sky.
Disney, like all the biggins.
You would hope. You would hope they're looking for people that know what they're talking about. They're like, hi. Well, actually, depending, that is a joke of like coming again from film school, that it is the idea of like, we're learning from professors who are not busy enough with work. And so we have them as professors and we learn from them. But it was, for me, I was always like, it doesn't matter, they know everything. But it still had that feeling of like, oh, they don't, like, wouldn't they be out there? It's like, no, they want to be teachers. It's okay.
It is an interesting time. Now I'm off track a little bit, but like how I always talk about that part of our success was because Rafi decided to go to film school. Well, I was very anti-school, like the way
that hard hitting.
Like I like have a big hesitation towards book learning and always kind of had, even though I was very smart and school was fine for me. I just didn't like being told how to be creative, and so
or how to learn.
Yeah, like wanting to learn on my own, but at the same time, that was really great for like just very like pure creative ideas and like pick up the camera and let's go make something I don't want to know. But at the same time, you can't be taken nearly as seriously if you don't know what you're doing at all.
We need to know how
something.
to actually write a proper screenplay in the format of a screenplay.
Well, that I always did.
Somewhat.
Good
There's
enough.
lots of little things that were
sure.
the way the parentheses
work. But now when you fast forward, because for us that was at a different time where cameras were only just becoming a little bit affordable back then, and even then they were pretty crappy cameras back because we're so old in our mid-30s. But you guys too, like there's the ability to animate in different types of more simpler programs is quote unquote still extremely hard and time consuming compared to other things, but you could do it without learning. Like that's something that exists now both in filmmaking and animated filmmaking. So what drew you to like, no, you want to go to school? Because that's a question we get a lot about, like, why did you go to film school? You can just pick up the camera and be a YouTuber. And we have our own reasons for it. But why
go to school?
Yeah, we always tell them to go to school. But for you guys, why was it like, oh no, you want to go to school for this?
I think at least for our school specifically, because I wanted to know what it was like to go through the whole pipeline of animation, because there are other film schools for animation, but a lot of the time you'll only really focus on one thing, whereas our school, like you do every part of it. And I think like I knew I was interested in animation, but I didn't know like exactly which part of it I liked. Like I didn't know if I liked designing characters, and I didn't know like storyboarding or animating or like something else that I didn't even know was part of the pipeline or something. So I think most of it was just because like I knew I liked it, but I didn't know like which part I would like the most. And so, yeah, I just like wanted to give it a shot. Plus also I liked the idea of being able to make like my own film and like to have all those resources like to do that, like, and to make something that's like high quality and like like I think that was what was appealing.
Yeah, you can get like all the learning and stuff. You can't do that on your own. But also, I think the reason why you should go to art school or Ringling or someplace like that is really for the connections that you make. Like it's really the people that you meet and all the friends that you make that really push the learning curve.
Yeah.
And it's like if I hadn't gone to that, I wouldn't have been able to like meet you and make the film or many of the other films. And it's awesome now that like you go into the animation industry, there will be people always from our school.
Yeah,
and that's already like common ground.
Yeah, it's really nice to have like the connections and stuff. And I definitely think that like now retrospectively, like after only, it hasn't been too long, but I like that like a lot of what I learned and like about myself and about art and about filmmaking and everything was from like all of the other students there and everything, because everyone, it's like really great to be in a place where a lot of young people are really passionate about something.
It just attracts really talented people together.
Yeah, I think that I didn't end up having that situation. Just I don't exactly know why, but like I got it more for all the first jobs that I had, and so the people that were either from my internships or being a PA or working in camera departments, like that's where I or even my own like initiative to like go out to comedy clubs and start shooting stuff for comedians and different things like that, that early network plus the network of like early online, like we were almost like a school of all pioneering and trying to figure out what the hell is this online
premium short form, low budget filmmaking when there was no money to be made and no one thought it was going to work and YouTube wasn't around.
Right.
And that group of us from back then, some of which we knew, some of which we didn't, but it includes us, The Lonely Island, Barats and Beretta,
Rooster Teeth.
Rooster Teeth. And then people,
Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, Rick and Morty and everything.
But they were
It's
Channel
like
101 doing things online too. And then there's other people who wouldn't even remember what they were, but one of the main people that ended up running production over at College Humor was in one of these sketch troupes that was around back then. Donald Glover was part of one of these early internet things. So it's crazy looking back, even in that regard of like communities around creative endeavors tend to push everybody up a little bit.
Exactly.
You
versus
drive each other and you want to
Exactly.
help each other and you find those ways to help each other through it all.
And that's a thing that we continue to try to push forward, even with how things have grown so much. Like I was talking with you when you came into film last week, like a huge drive for us is like, well, how do we just help the next people? Like we want it to be easier it was so much more hard for us. Let's make it easy for the next creative people so better things can get out in the world in an easier way. And that's a big ethos of what we believe in for the entertainment industry as a whole, which is a pretty shitty place.
Hollywood doesn't like that though. It's cutthroat.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more questions more about the film and then we will move on. Oh no, it's Luca Bella. On Instagram wants to know, were you afraid of getting hate or did you believe that the loving responses would overpower the negative responses?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we obviously never expected any like of like the intensity of what we've gotten from as far as a response, like positive and negative. Like I didn't expect this much. But I did expect like more positivity over like negativity. Like I knew there would be some because you can't really put anything out there without getting some negativity. And then especially something with like this kind of theme, like you're gonna get like, negative comments. But yeah, I mean, the positivity outweighs it like 100%.
Yeah. I guess we also are fortunate enough to live and be surrounded by like-minded people.
Mm-hmm.
So you also sometimes forget about all the different kinds
Everybody's
of...
going to love it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right.
Yeah, like at Ringling, we never found any sort of opposition from the full faculty or any other student. So that was a really smooth process. When we started putting things out in the internet and it started blowing up because we put out a poster first and then a trailer and then like the negative comments like
The
started
trailer went a
coming
little
in.
viral too.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I say a little only because of how big the actual film was. It went pretty viral.
Comparatively little.
Yeah.
I remember that part of like research of being like, oh,
Right,
like,
where there was a Kickstarter prior to that even.
it's so,
right?
I mean, it's so
Yeah.
interesting of being like, here we are now, we're sitting together, and it's so like, it's so weird, but like, I now had just that moment of like, right, the little bits that like the producers found it, and there was a little bit in the research that went into
Before
it.
it went viral, we were very aware of what it was.
Of knowing it,
that's
and then
cool.
it was like, oh, that thing, right? Oh, it came out. Oh, crap! Oh my God, it's you! Oh, and then you watch, and you're like, holy shit, it's
our job
incredible.
here to be ahead of these things. So hence we end up aware of a lot of things that end up going viral a bit earlier than others because it's so focused on what we're trying to do
Right.
content-wise and to push to things. But still, it was like on the radar, but then
forgot
very
about that.
quickly blew up to
Yeah,
a place where it was like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, how fast can we turn this around? Because this is the biggest thing that's hit YouTube in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last question from the fans. JD Nunez 2000 on Instagram. How has this coming out changed your life as a whole?
Like the
film
film
coming
coming
out?
out
I think they
or
mean the
us
film.
coming
I don't
out?
know. I guess it could be both, right?
I mean, they're kind of the same thing.
We were
really.
talking about that in
Yeah.
another interview, how closely tied our coming out is to the film, because we came out a couple of years ago and we started the film. You had probably come out like
I think it was
couple-
like September before we started.
and the
so that
first
was only
idea
a
was
few months.
October.
Yeah. So it was like, the
Wow.
very first time we even like
Right.
thought of the
So it's
idea
a part
was,
of
yeah.
like you.
It really
it really
is.
was like a big part of
Like,
us.
we went through a period of time, well, for me at least, that my parents didn't know what I was working on for a thesis.
Yeah.
And my family, I would go back and at family dinners, they would be like, what's your thesis about?
Love story
Yeah, exactly. A love story.
with Shirley and
Shirley and John. But you, like, it wasn't.
I mean, it was a really long time. I think like I mentioned this, in another interview that we did, but that like I had kind of used the film and like the theme of the film to sort of like test the waters with coming out to my parents and like see like how they would, because like, this is just a project that I'm working on. So what do you think of that? Because I wasn't like, you know that your parents are still going to love you, but it's a little bit scary to,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But yeah, so
but for a long period of time, they thought that it's like they knew that I was gay.
Right. They thought I was just like, I was just nice. And I think like it was like a month before we were done or something that I was like, okay, I gotta just tell you, like,
It was, to be honest, kind of scary making the film. And whenever someone would ask me what your film is, I would always kind of like,
So it's weird because it is like it's a very personal story inherently, but it's also just like it literally is like kind of.
That's interesting because the way you reacted there, which is kind of like, because it's so close and tied to the idea of coming out, that it's almost like every time somebody's asking you that, you felt like by telling them what it's about, you're coming out to them.
It was.
And it's like, because it's so tied
and
to
it's
who
like
you are.
you're always hoping that there will be a positive reaction, but there's just a tiny bit of it. It's just a thought that it's like, what if they aren't? That.
It's just one of those things that I mean, just look at how much progress really has been made, but at the same time, man, I hope there's a future where there's nothing to worry about anymore. Like, even hearing that, like, it breaks my heart just a little bit. Like, you have to, like, why wouldn't you be able to tell them exactly what it's about? And like, because we've circled around these types of things for years, and there's a project that we've been trying to get off the ground that has similar themes to In a Heartbeat in a different way, but like in the kid space, in live action sitcom, and something that we've like been really passionate about trying to figure out, and like, it's so difficult. Like, you cannot go almost anywhere. No one's going to make a kid show about this. I'm like, but why wouldn't you make a kid show about this? So I think that I think that your film is taking a huge step to showcase to the entertainment industry at large that there's a market for this. It's not just like, it's a good thing to do for the moment.
Right.
This
it's
really,
not a PSA.
No, it went viral in a way that it really, in a way, is one of the only things that have gone viral so much that was a film. Like, such a story that is catering. It's not quote unquote for kids per se, but you can see that element there, and look at the response that it got. So there's money to be made off of this, and maybe that's what'll move the needle. And like, I can make money off of this. Let's do it.
I'm sure in a lot of degrees, just career wise, I'm sure it was a nice validation for being like, we should keep doing this, and not being like, oh, might as well go home, like figure out a job at Walmart. Not to say anything about Walmart. Walmart's great. Walmart's fantastic. I made a shrug if you're listening to the podcast.
You shouldn't have admitted that if they were, because it would be very offensive to the Walmartians that are listening.
Walmartians.
You just lost a chunk of your audience.
You're 5%, now it's 4%.
Whoa, so many Walmartians.
You guys were telling me how that you have plans to keep working together, and that there's maybe bigger opportunities out there, but for now you're both in kind of separate jobs and still working your way up in different ways, right?
I mean, our intention to work together is something that's going to happen pretty soon. Like, it's still, we still got like to kind of find our footing and everything, but it's definitely like it's very near in our futures that we'll be like developing things. And even like right now that we do have like some time to kind of like be working together, like we've been sort of throwing around ideas and trying to like solidify some more of our like future plans and stuff. So,
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, we'll circle back. We'll jump into some company stuff like we're supposed to do on the FBE podcast.
Boring.
Yeah.
No.
It's comparatively at this point,
I know.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk beforehand like we normally do, so I wrote down a couple of things of like... Okay, so what's new around the channel? I don't know if... we didn't talk... We talked about this a little bit last week because you weren't on the podcast.
Yeah, it's
But
hard.
it would have just ended yesterday by the time this comes out. The Let's Play, which is the full playthroughs of the gaming things that we do, which we had not done for a long, long time. People got really upset of like, why can't you play the game all the way through?
It takes a long time to edit,
And
that's
it
why.
comes out explaining of like,
Not like animation.
No, nothing like animation. Can't even compare talking to animators.
Yes, exactly. I'm sorry.
When you're a gamer playing by yourself and you're playing an entire game, you can get through that in a relatively short period of time, generally, because you can just play by yourself. It's just you. The way we do things, there's 6 people playing the same game. If the game's 25 hours long times 6, then you try to edit it into a shared experience that takes forever. So it went away. We then found a way to bring it back as best we can. But so the Little Nightmares one just ended, and we're going into Life is Strange, which is completely a way we've never done it before.
Did we write that? We let people know in the comments that at this point?
I don't know if we did or not,
Yeah.
so just in case, you should give the context.
Well, there's an update video that's going to be coming
Next
out
week
as well to try to explain a little bit more. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. We're kind of looking at it like it's a new show instead of it being like something to look like, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing it this way? It's like, well, think about it. Instead of being the different people playing it at different times, we're having the various reactors sit together and play the game and make choices through it, because
with just one set of 3 playing the game, and that's all you see.
Because Life is Strange and the 2 other games that everybody wants the absolute most are branching narrative, choose your own adventure games, which is like Telltale's Walking Dead and Until Dawn.
So imagine that, 6 people, 30 minutes at a time,
All
they all
different
choose different
storylines.
things. How are you supposed to make
yeah,
that into
that
an
would be
episode?
So I think that'll be just fun to be able to finally play some of these games that us at the company are like dying to play and show, and finally get something out there for you guys versus never giving you it.
So
ever.
inside information, you're going to get a lot more info next week with an actual video, but it's actually going to be 2 episodes a week for a while, which we also don't normally do. So that's starting next week on the React channel.
So help us out with all the comments that are going to be coming in, 5% on those episodes that people are going to be like, why are you doing it this way? It's like, because this is the only way we could do it, and help us. Help the commenters that will be the haters.
And also, unrelated to YouTube stuff, some of you might be aware that we made a movie last year that we wrote and that I directed. And it's looking like, and it's not official, but I'm still going to talk about it here anyway, even though it's not official, that it looks like it's going to be released in December, which I'm really excited about because it's been well over a year and I wasn't sure of the timeline. So that's probably a digital release to start and then might end up on a subscription platform after that. Movie is called F the Prom, a high school comedy in the vein of Can't Hardly Wait and The Breakfast Club. That's how I usually describe it.
Nice.
Stars Danielle Campbell from the originals and Joel Courtney, who you might remember as the star of Super 8 when he was a little kid. And also Ian Ziering from Sharknado and Sherry O'Terry from Saturday Night Live. So super fun. I'm excited for everyone to finally see it. Hopefully there'll be a trailer at some point in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. All right, so some company questions. Remember, you can use the hashtag FBE Podcast on any social platform. That's what we search for to find these questions about the company, about the reactors, about our shows, about YouTube at large, questions about the entertainment industry, etc.
No algorithm questions.
We have one that is going to be an easy one, but there is an algorithm question.
Okay.
Feel free to chime in as you have any information about some of this stuff. You never know.
We'll see. Well, they could try to answer them first. Maybe.
That'd be a nightmare.
Maybe not. So on Twitter, Andy Zeitgeister wants to know, why have we added the 5 to 10 second previews to some episodes before the videos begin?
Because it's fun.
It's engaging.
It's something that actually from a long time ago is part of like it's like psychology of people that are watching. I think for the people that are subscribed, I understand that it could be annoying because you're like, I'm gonna watch it anyways. What are you doing? And you're spoiling something for me. Which we're trying our best to not make it necessarily a spoiler. Like there are some things about like don't show somebody winning something or etc. But the general idea is that for a lot of people that aren't necessarily going to be gripped really quickly, there was a study even like 8-9 years ago talking about it. I think it was college who were making some of this like data come out about the things that they were doing because they were already a really large company, about the first 3 seconds being the most important thing that you can do on video. And actually Facebook now has become something that people have realized that too, where it's like you got to grip them in the first few seconds because people are scrolling through their timeline, and if you're not like while they're scrolling by on mute, if you're not grabbing them, then they're not going to watch. So to that degree, we're trying to show people that in case you're just testing it, you're sampling it, especially because we get a lot of views from search. So if people are going to be clicking on it from search and they want to be able to see quickly if they want to watch it, they get a quick taste of what they might be seeing later on. And there's also, I guess, the idea too is that now that YouTube is algorithmically driven towards watch time, and so
that's the main reason.
The more people watch, the better. You want people to maybe see like, oh, I'll wait around to see that part happen. And so that hopefully helps you go, I wonder when that happens in the episode. And so you'll watch maybe until 7 minutes in, and you'll see some people, we do not necessarily do this all the time. We just put in some of the best like moments, but you will see a lot of vloggers who have like their 17 to 25 minute episodes of their daily vlog. They'll put the thing that is like literally minute 24 into their first quick 3-second thing.
I might have broke up with my girlfriend today in the vlog, and then 15 minutes later they'll talk about it.
All the way there.
I've seen those.
And it totally does. People sometimes will try to click through or scroll through to find that, but most of the time you're just waiting for that moment to happen. It's the same idea of commercial breaks in television. Now that nobody watches that anymore, but commercial breaks in television always would have the, coming up. And so you would be like, "Oh, I better stay and see the coming up."
So for the listeners of this podcast that
don't watch television ever,
well, probably not. But that's all very negative in the sense of like, yeah, I don't want you to spoil it for me. I'm going to watch it anyway. You're admitting that you're trying to like bait me into watching more. And there's the reality of the algorithm now.
We need to.
That otherwise you might never get recommended the video.
Right.
You might never even know we uploaded it. And we've talked on the podcast a lot how there's a lot of people that won't watch the entire thing either. And they won't go and watch all the way through question time. And then they'll leave negative comments about why didn't you show them this? And it's like, well, we did. You just didn't watch the whole episode. So this also factors into that to show you, oh, we showed this song, but we also showed this song, and then it makes you go, oh, I want to stick around to see all the things they show. So we're still experimenting with it, though. We're collecting data, which is showing some unevenness right now between some shows yes, some shows no. So it might change in the future, but we're still collecting data. So just deal with it, you guys. You just got to deal with it.
So it's a fortunate side of having to not just want to make the show you want to make, but worrying about all these other factors thanks to how YouTube or Facebook works.
Cutie Pie Mania on YouTube wants to know, will there ever be a tournament on Staff React? Because we don't really do tournaments.
Well, like a gaming tournament?
I don't know.
I'm guessing a gaming tournament, because that's the only tournaments we do.
True, but we can come up with a new tournament.
Yeah, tournaments take a longer period of time to film with the same amount of people, so the staff
harder to do
needs to be able to like take off work for like 2 to 3 hours. And is it really possible? So instead, Staff React takes usually like 20 to 30 minutes, usually with what we have everybody do. Yeah, because otherwise we're not getting any work done. They actually are the producers and the editors and the PAs and everything.
Maybe one day we'll do some live tournament or something so it can be a little bit quicker.
Oscar, have you gotten on one yet? Not yet.
Oh man.
And then soon enough. Wait your turn. All right.
All right. Nakama on YouTube wants to know, does the YouTube algorithm influence the videos shown on my subscription page, or is it only influencing the recommended videos?
I don't even know what that question was asking.
Okay, so they were asking, like, so on YouTube, there is the homepage when you're logged in, right? And there's all these videos there. And some of them are channels you're subscribed to potentially, but there also might not be. It's what YouTube thinks they want to recommend you based on your watch habits.
It knows you better than you.
Yeah.
But you have an actual subscriptions area that you can click subscriptions, and that's actually where all the subscriptions
who you're subscribed to actually are.
Oh, okay.
So the question here is they're wondering if they're wondering when you go to your subscriptions area, is an algorithm determining what is showing up to you there, or is it only in your homepage?
I guess only in the homepage.
Yes!
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm so smart.
That was a 50-50 guess.
It was an educated guess.
At this point, it's become, what's interesting is I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how to not game that system, but because there's so many people that upload and people subscribe to so many channels, that the subscription feed is definitely your subscriptions at the time that it came out. Nothing's going to be screwy in there. But now you do have people being like, you can set it. So it was for a while, everybody would just be like, whatever, 12 o'clock, and we'll all be at that time, 12 o'clock. Now everybody's trying to like think, maybe if I release at 12:02, it's like Price is Right. Where it's like 12:03, I'll release at 12:04. So everybody's trying to figure out, like, maybe I'll release at 11:59 to try to be there before everybody else is uploading. So now if you go to your subscription feed, you'll see, if you're subscribed to a lot of people, you'll see 12:01, 12:02, and that's not it getting to your feed at that point. It's like people are actually like setting their times at different places now to try to beat other people out. It's really competitive.
It is. Best thing to do, again, either go to your subscription box. Don't go to the homepage if you want to see who you're actually subscribed to, or with the channels you love the most, bookmark their videos page on their YouTube channel. It's the only way
not their just page, but the video section of their page. Then you'll get to see everything they've put out.
That's the way. So before we wrap out, what are your YouTube plans? Do you have any? You've gathered some decent subscribers at this point. Is there any plans for your YouTube that you can share?
It's like, I don't think anybody actually wants to see us do anything.
I would beg to differ. I think the people are drawing you.
I got a call from YouTube just saying, hey, you got lots of subscribers, right? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, what are you going to do with channel? I don't know. And then at that point they were like, okay, this guy's like clueless.
Have you thought about it? Like, do you see yourself once there is another project that potentially giving updates on what you're working on or anything like that? Or do you think you'd hold until there was another project?
I mean, like we have like kind of accumulated a couple of like behind the scenes things and like we're in
for like the composer that did the film.
Yeah.
There we did kind of like a live blog.
Yeah, we tried. It didn't work.
Yeah. After we went to the live recording session of the score, we did one, and then we did an interview. So we got some material like behind the scenes to upload.
Yeah.
That we have.
So hopefully we'll like edit that together or something. But
and then after that, if I don't know, can you change like names of the channel or not?
Question from us.
Depending, in what way? Like if
Like
you
you don't
just
want to say in a
if you
heartbeat
want to
type
just
thing.
change
Like
the
if
vanity, like just what it says there, yes. If you're wanting to change the actual hard-rooted URL, maybe a little more complicated. Like
But
I don't know
we
what
can try
you
to
guys
help you guys. We can be able to hook you up and help you.
Well, I mean, they're calling you, so like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they would be open to figuring out if you're wanting some other name or whatever. But I don't know if you guys still have that string. Is it just a string, or do you actually have a YouTube.com/something right now?
I think I'm not
It
sure.
might just be X equals whatever, right?
I
Yeah.
just know YouTube.
We don't know what this
I
website
search
is.
for our own film if I want to check it again. So
Yeah, I mean, we might consider just like renaming it for like
Yeah,
our names.
like assuming we're gonna make more
make more-
things,
yeah.
like we don't want it to always be.
I definitely did think when I saw the channel, I was like, oh. Like, you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, like, but it was at least very branded, very specifically. So in its own way, it could have been the right move to be so specifically focused to be like, the channel is this, like, this is what this is. That's all you get. Like, love it, you know? But at the same time, knowing long-term thinking about like always helping people think about what their careers are going to be on YouTube or online, etc. I was like, oh, they're going to deal with that at some point. And here you are already thinking about it. It's like, you want to be a company name. And honestly, like we had that to various degrees of originally we had more of a company name and it wasn't about the Fine Bros originally. Then we ended up on YouTube because we knew that it was not about us. Like, and we didn't care about being on camera. We didn't want to be on camera. And then when we got on YouTube and that account got shut down for various reasons, we ended up in the zone of being like, well, this YouTube thing is like, they want to know like who's behind it. Like, you might consider putting your names there, and a lot of people end up doing that. Now everybody's even going from having their weird, silly when they were young names like Den is Not on Fire, you know, to making it just Dan Howell. You know, like making it their actual name.
Daniel Howell.
Daniel
Okay? Don't want to get that wrong.
And so that like that idea for us is like, now we're kind of going back to being like, right, this idea of being just the Fine Bros and it's sounding like, oh, that might be two people or etc. So even in that sense, like, you might want to be considering that of being like, what do you maybe imagine your careers eventually being? So maybe it should be like the company name you're thinking about versus just your names, because then you'll have to change it again. Yeah.
More thinking to do.
So many thinking.
You know how to contact us.
Yes.
You can run
Yeah.
your bias. We're here. And you also can do quite the fan art show, if I can give you a tip. If there's ever a thought of like, what can we do on an ongoing basis? There's
Show
enough
the fan
art.
art.
that you can just be
Yeah.
reacting to the fan art and probably have a weekly show for a year. So much art.
Actually, that's kind of true because we have a Tumblr page where we've been reblogging a lot of fan art and like
There you go.
Like, I think our queue is set for
So
like
you
200.
think we
Like-
should put our faces in that channel at some point?
I think so, and especially like people have proven even from when this has come out, the fact that we're joking about it, but they are looking you up. They want to know who you are. It's reaching them on a personal level that obviously, especially in being filmmakers, you're not just going to make as much as you know how big it would be and how much everyone would want it forever, but you're not going to do in a heartbeat 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, for the rest of your life. You're going to end up making a lot of different films. So people knowing you become very important, because then it's what you guys do that they want to support, not just the project, which is something that we built, but now struggle with in new ways in the bigger success, where React is this hugely popular thing that it's not as easy as it used to be to get as many people to go watch something completely unrelated to React. But if there's an offshoot, it does so well. But the thought even fully was for us of like, how are we going to get people really excited about the company and who's making it so they care about the next show rather than just the next Teens React.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it doesn't mean that you have to make something that's just like, oh my God, daily vlog, millions of views, etc. It literally is just finding the way that like, what is that like?
Update video.
Yeah, just being able to let them know what you guys are up to, and just so that, especially in this moment, when they are actively maybe pursuing and looking for things, that there's a place for them to know, like, oh, no, we are going to be here for you, like, if you're interested. And
Might
then
take us a
don't,
while,
and you
but
don't have to
we
do a
will be
lot.
back.
Yeah. Little
Yeah.
Q&As, little updates, little BTS here and there, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap out. We need to come up with the hashtag, which again is the way that we know that you listened the whole time or skip to the end, one way or the other. So we need a hashtag. Has there been like a ship name?
Oh, for the I mean, there's a few going around.
What's your favorite?
My favorite one is Jonawin. I think that's cute.
Should we go with
Hard to
hashtag?
spell.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Hashtag Jonawin.
However you want to spell it.
Yeah, I don't really know.
John will hate that.
Well, he'll do
However
it.
you want to spell it.
So hashtag Jonawin for a chance to get a shout out in the next episode, which we're going to do shout outs here in a second. Big thanks to both Beth and Esteban for being here. And
Yes.
it's been great getting to know you over the last kind of couple weeks. And
Now it'll be
thanks for giving us
sad.
so
You
much
won't be
time.
like in our lives every week.
I know.
We'll have to
I was
figure
getting- I was
out
getting
where's
so-
our weekly content.
Well,
with
we
you
can
guys?
just like come in and
just
just
be
like
like,
knock and it's
"Hi."
like, today we're reacting.
Hey, get you on Adults React.
It can be done. If you want to be more regular reactors, you just let us know. You know the right people. You know
man.
the right people.
Did you enjoy
Forget
it generally?
Blue Sky.
Forget jobs.
Forget jobs.
You just react.
Did you generally like from doing the experience of like it was your own thing? Did you then think like, oh, I wonder how it would be if I was reacting to just other things, like versus like the possible little awkwardness of your own thing?
I don't know. Everything is happening.
So this is going to be
Never
random.
thought
Yeah, I
that
never thought about anything.
Ever thought that we'd be on that channel.
No.
Ever.
No. Like,
And what do you mean by that? Just like as
okay,
it's just like another.
Kids React was one of like the first things on YouTube that I really like watched. Like on YouTube, like more than once, like multiple. Yeah. So like, yeah, no thought in my mind was like someday I'll react to something, or even someday someone will react to something that I did. That was also like weird. So, this is pretty cool.
That's crazy though.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. Like, I mean, hearing that's also just these crazy journeys.
It's happening more and more
everything.
for us because we don't, you're in your hole, and you're just
Working,
and grinding away
working.
for so long that you don't realize how much time has really passed. And that, Kids React was one of the first big major YouTube formats, right? Like that it wasn't just a person, it was a show. There was like Epic Mealtime, Annoying Orange, and Kids React. That was kind of like the main ones that were around. But that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So
A long time ago.
that is the thing. Like, when you're starting to find YouTube, you find Kids React back then. And it's always so mind-blowing for us with people that we end up finding in other ways and respecting so much, and then be like, oh, you watched us that like all this time, like and you're happy to be here, like it's a humbling thing on our side.
It's very surreal.
Yeah.
You could see it in the episode with you guys where you're just like looking, you're like being here, and it's just like me. And I was watching that moment, just being like, even I just got you to talk about it now because it was something in my mind of like, what did they mean by that? Like, and now I get a little bit of like that it felt so odd to actually be a part of the show that you had watched randomly. Yeah.
I'm sorry
Crazy.
that the Kids React to doesn't happen anymore, and you didn't get to hear.
Yeah.
It has our voices.
Originally it was us. Yeah.
We would do it 3 times, different pitches and octaves, but it was me and Rafi.
Oh, that's good to
We
know
can do
too.
it for you some other time. We'll send you a separate file.
Yeah, and I'll just listen to that every once in a while.
Then I can die happy.
Yeah.
So this won't make any sense to you guys, but it will make sense to Rafi, and you won't be happy about it. But maybe one day you can animate the characters doing the Macarena, and that
saw
make you
it.
very happy.
It's coming.
But let's do the shout-outs.
All right.
Saw it coming. I was like, what don't... Oh, I know what's coming now.
I don't know why everyone's upset about it. Anyway, so big thanks. These are people who left the secret hashtag last week. Remember, hashtag Jonawin, and you can get a shout out next time. We're going to rush through. Thank you so much to Adam Binder,
Bernice Chu.
Chef Ficus.
Colin Cormier.
Costanza Lobo,
PewDiePie Mania. 45.
Dennis Dreer.
Deandra Alders.
Dolphin in a Top Hat,
Dr. Leaves.
18 Robbers.
I live, bitch.
how do you top that? Floor Walters,
Oh, I'll tell you, happy 10 ending.
Indra Kaluda.
Irish vampire.
Evo Stregic,
Jack's Vlogs.
Jeffrey Bird.
Jenna Lee.
Kevin Wilson,
Kristen Chapman.
Kyle DeBlazo.
Lewin Global.
Living Able,
Lucas Kaiser.
Macchio Nishber. I'm so sorry.
Neo Giuslati.
Nikki Gretchek,
Noon Harotunyanyan.
Peter Funton.
Power Spin 1 game.
Queen Azura 03.
Rakanatha Latanto.
Todd Maris.
Urbo 666.
Verve.
Violet Conway.
Yehuda Potash.
And ZK, and on Twitter, BandGeek1702, DCGamer72, Hillian Maldiv, Nick Artist Girl, Real Justice 10, Rowan W, and All About Zek. And here are the countries that listed that they were listening to. If you don't hear your country and you're in that country, leave a comment saying, I'm listening from this country. That's how we find it. Blows our mind that we're this global, so thanks for people in Argentina,
Australia.
Or Bulgaria.
Canada.
Germany,
Iceland.
India.
And Indonesia.
Nepal,
Netherlands.
Nigeria.
Norway.
Peru,
Russia.
Saudi Arabia.
Scotland.
Singapore,
UK.
USA.
Venezuela.
and Zambia. So big thanks again to our guests. All their information will be in the description. You can go and find them. If you're listening, where can they find you guys?
Instagram at Beth David.
Are you going to put the information?
It'll be in the description, but what if they're just listening?
Yeah, they might
okay.
have to see
Well,
it.
Instagram is Esteban Bravo. Twitter is Esteban Bravo P.
Mine are both Beth David.
Double B, double D?
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank
Twitter
you
and
guys so
Instagram.
much
Thank you,
again.
thank
This
you,
was so
thank you.
wonderful, and thanks for sharing all this insight. I really could just talk to you guys forever about this stuff.
Congratulations.
Yeah, big
Thank you.
congrats.
Thank you
thanks,
so much.
Thanks for being so kind to FBE and coming in and all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah, happy to.
Likewise. Thanks
We'll
for
have you on
having
again in the
us.
future when the next giant thing happens. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right.